They told me I was too old to travel, but what happened next changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started as a whisper, a murmured doubt from friends cloaked in concern. You should stay home, Ellen, they said. Isn't it too late for you? I felt it hit me like a punch, cold and harsh, seeping into my bones. Too late. I was just getting started. The world sat outside my window, vibrant and full of life. I was packing my bag when the phone rang. A sharp jolt shot through me. It was Marco, my son, his voice trembling. Mom, you need to come home. It's urgent. My heart thudded. I had promised myself this trip to Paris was my chance to breathe again, to feel young, to finally reclaim a piece of my life. Instead, it felt like the universe pulled the rug out from under my feet. I'd fought hard for my independence after my divorce. The stony silence in my house was a stark reminder of lost love and diminishing dreams. Lately, I'd filled it with the sound of packing tape, the rustle of travel guides, the scent of sunscreen and hope. But now, all I could think about was Marco. His voice echoed in my mind, heavy with dread, and the reality hit me. Something bad must have happened. Tears brimmed in my eyes, sticky and warm. When I arrived at his apartment, everything felt wrong. The air was thick with tension. Marco's usual bright eyes were dark, shadowed by something unspoken. Mom, he whispered, I think I found something. The words hung, heavy with anticipation. What do you mean? I asked, fear coiling around my chest. He led me to his living room. There, nestled in a plain cardboard box, sat a globe. But this wasn't any ordinary globe. It shimmered as if painted with stars, every country pulsating with life. I approached it slowly, my heart racing. Each continent seemed to glow, breathing as if it held secrets. I think it's magical, Mom. Marco's voice cracked. I can feel it. I brushed my fingers against it. A jolt surged through me, electric and startling. My mind raced back to the doubts, to the naysayers. But staring at this globe, the world suddenly felt expansive again. My fears melted into an inexplicable curiosity. Was there something more here? Something waiting for me that I hadn't dared to uncover? Before I could ask more questions, the room darkened, the globe shining brighter, casting strange shadows on the wall. It felt like a heartbeat, a rhythm that called to me. I stepped back, my breath caught in my throat. Then, quite suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the silence. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The knock shattered the fragile atmosphere like a crystal dropped from a high shelf. I turned, heart racing, to find the door swinging open to reveal an unfamiliar face, an elderly woman wrapped in a cozy layer of knitted shawls, her silver hair framing a face etched with lines of wisdom and curiosity. Is this the home of Marco Bennett? She asked, her voice soft yet firm, like a lullaby infused with urgency. Marco stepped forward, uncertainty written across his features. Yes, it is. Can we help you? The woman scanned the room, her piercing gaze landing on the glowing globe. A flicker of recognition ignited in her eyes, mingling with an expression that spoke of deep understanding. Ah, I see you found it, she murmured, as if speaking to an old friend. Excuse me? I interjected, bewildered. What do you mean, found it? The woman took a step inside, her presence filling the space with something unexpected, a warmth that momentarily dispelled the chill of our earlier fears. That globe, she said reverently, eyes twinkling with secrets. It's not just a decorative item. It holds untold stories, potential adventures, dreams yet to be realized. Marco and I exchanged glances, a silent dialogue of confusion laced with something like hope. What do you know about it? I pressed, needing to uncover the mystery that loomed like a specter in the room. More than you can imagine, the woman replied, stifling a sigh. You see, I was once like you, full of dreams, not yet bound by the weight of the years. But I learned that some things are worth pursuing, no matter the stage of life you're in. Her words wove through my heart like a balm, steadying my pulse. I felt the echo of my long-dormant dreams whispering behind the cords of doubt that had held me captive for so long. What if it's too late? I found myself asking without thinking, the question slipping through the defenses I thought I had fortified. It's never too late, dear, she assured, a smile crinkling the corners of her eyes. Life is a tapestry, and your thread is still being woven. But you must choose to pull it out and see where it takes you. Her voice was soothing, but a note of urgency lingered as if she understood the chaos that sat on the edge of my heart, fear of failure mingling with the thrill of possibility. I reached out and touched the globe again, feeling its warmth radiate against my fingers. Then Marco drew closer, his brow furrowed. What happened to make you stop dreaming? He asked, daring to voice the question I had buried deep inside. The woman hesitated, her age-worn hands trembling slightly. Life took its course, my dear. I lost my partner, my reason to explore. I convinced myself that the world was too big, that I was too frail. I stayed home, filled with what-ifs instead of traveling to answer those questions. Her voice faltered, breaking the calm. I felt the weight of her regrets heavy in the Is this globe a way to travel, then? Marco inquired, fascinated. Will it take us somewhere? Yes, she said, her voice stronger now. But it requires faith in something beyond yourself. A glimmer of excitement sparked within me, crashing against the walls of doubt. Could this strange globe truly be a vessel for adventure? My life felt barren and unyielding, yet as whispers of hope flickered like candle flames, I wondered what it would feel like to chase dreams rather than fears. But just as I began to stir from my contemplation, I remembered the urgency that had brought me here in the first place. Marco's earlier words swam to the forefront of my mind. Marco, I said, my heart sinking. What was so urgent that you needed me to come home? He hesitated, the glow of the globe casting shadows on his face that mirrored his internal struggle. Mom, I found something else in that box. Something that doesn't belong to us, but it's important. What is it? I breathed, eager yet apprehensive. Before he could answer, the lights flickered ominously, and the globe blinked in rhythm with my anxious heartbeat. In that moment, the world holding my fears began to spiral, the colors twisting into a tempest of brilliance that threatened to consume us all. The elderly woman let out a gasp as she collapsed to the ground, her body enveloped in a shimmer of light. Mom, Marco shouted, rushing to her side, but I found myself rooted, caught in the promise of adventure and the looming specter of whatever came after. As the globe pulsed brighter, a new fear clawed at my chest, the realization that perhaps reclaiming my dreams would come at a price higher than I was prepared to pay. And in that moment, uncertainty washed over me like an icy tide. What lay ahead both in our journey with the globe and in Marco's revelation was unclear, and all I could do was stand on the precipice, trembling between two worlds, the life I had known and the one waiting to be discovered. The silence that followed felt unbearable, a thick fog that settled heavily around us as Marco knelt beside the woman, panic-etched in every feature. Her frail body lay still, shrouded in an eerie glow that remained vibrant yet hollow, echoing the chaos swirling through the atmosphere. My instinct to flee surged within me, spine tingling with dread, yet my legs remained chained to the moment, torn between fear and an inexplicable pull towards the globe that owes something. I urged Marco, my tone sharp. Desperate, he pressed a hand over the woman's heart, eyes wide and frantic. Don't know if I can. Just then, the globe shimmered, deepening in hue, its warmth wrapping around me like a second skin, urging me to reach out. A quiet voice inside whispered of a forgotten purpose, of dreams delicately poised against the backdrop of turmoil. My heart raced. Was it possible that this woman carried part of the key to unlock the next chapter of our lives? I took a tentative step closer. What if we're meant to do something? What if we can help her? Marco looked up, hope mingling with uncertainty in his gaze. But how? That was the question. How could we harness this globe's enigmatic power? I couldn't help but think of the woman's words, her insistence that faith was essential. Taking a deep breath, I steadied my hand over the globe, feeling its surface pulse in time with the frantic rhythm of our hearts. Trust me, I murmured, though I had no idea what I was asking of him. Let's try together. Marco hesitated, but the desperation etched on the elderly woman's face galvanized him. Slowly, warily, he placed his hand beside mine on the globe. The warmth intensified, a brilliant wave of energy coursing through us both, surging in a way that felt intentionally alive. "Okay," I whispered, emboldened by the brightness. "On the count of 3 we'll believe. We'll send our hopes into the universe." My heart surged. The air thickened as I could almost hear my own pulse, mingling with the gentle hum of the globe. 1 2 3, we pressed down with our hands. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Doubts bubbled to the surface, threatening to drown me in a sea of regret. But then, out of nowhere, a brilliant flash erupted from the globe. The light blossomed, wrapping us in a cocoon of brilliance that felt both familiar and electrifying. The world around us transformed in a blink. Marco and I stood before a scene unfolding like pages from an illuminated storybook. We were no longer in our dim living room, but surrounded by lush green hills kissed by golden sunlight. The beauty was breathtaking, an expanse of wildflower fields swaying gently in a sweet, perfumed breeze. "Where are we?" Marco whispered, awestruck. "That I don't know, but I think we should find her," I urged, a new sense of purpose igniting within me. Fueled by adrenaline, we raced across the meadow in search of the woman who had guided us this far. But as the joy of adventure flooded through me, a deeper concern gnawed at my edges. What if she was lost? What if we couldn't find her in this new, vibrant place? Doubt began to creep into my mind like a dark shadow, taunting my resolve. "Mom," Marco shouted, his voice ringing out against the golden horizon. As we rushed deeper into the expanse, a figure emerged from behind a cluster of brilliant yellow flowers. A young girl, perhaps 8 or 9 years old, with hair like spun silver that cascaded down her shoulders. She knelt by a patch of daisies, humming a soft, familiar tune. When she turned to face us, her eyes, bright like sapphires, shimmered with an ancient understanding that sent shivers down my spine. "You're searching for her, aren't you?" she asked, her words tinged with a wisdom well beyond her years. "Oh, you know where she is?" I asked breathlessly, unable to tear my eyes away from her enchanting gaze. "Yes," she nodded, rising gracefully to her feet. "But you must ask yourself, are you truly ready to face what lies ahead?" "What does that mean?" Marco pressed, taking a protective step closer to me. She simply smiled softly, an inviting warmth radiating from within. "Every journey comes with its sacrifices. But remember, it's not about finding her. It's about understanding what the journey unearths within you." As she spoke, the meadow began to shift, the colors fading to an eerie twilight that quickly enveloped us. The ground trembled beneath my feet, and I felt a cold gust wrap around me like icy fingers, coaxing me back to the reality that pressed against my mind. "Wait," I called out, but before I could grasp the moment, the girl faded into the twilight, her voice echoing like a distant memory. "Take the leap." The earth trembled, despair clawing at my heart as the last vestiges of light slipped from view. There was no longer certainty in the vibrant hope I had felt. Only the precipice of a decision loomed, weighing heavier than I could comprehend. As I clenched my fists, a flicker of worry chased the excitement from earlier. I turned to Marco, our eyes locking for a heartbeat, terror mingling with a burgeoning sense of adventure. "Are we in over our heads?" he asked, each word laced with vulnerability. "Only one way to find out," I replied, holding onto the thread of bravery weaving through my heart, a thread that might lead us both to truths we had yet to uncover. The globe pulsed steadily at my core, its presence a reminder of uncharted possibilities ahead, both enticing and terrifying. But as the shadows deepened around us, an unsettling feeling settled in my stomach. Just when I thought our destinies interwove, I heard a whisper against the night air. "You will pay a price for your dreams." The revelation sank deep into my soul. What I once thought was merely a leap into adventure now felt like a plunge into uncertainty, a chasm where light flickered in the distance, yet darkness loomed ever nearer. In that moment, the stakes felt impossibly high, the journey nothing short of daunting. What's more, I began to wonder if I was truly ready to confront the sacrifices that were certain to follow. The suffocating twilight pressed in around us, clawing at the edges of our consciousness as we stood teetering on the brink of an unimaginable expanse. My heart raced, each beat echoing the terrible weight of uncertainty that now burdened me. Marco's expression mirrored my own exposed fear, and yet within that haze of doubt, a flicker of defiance sparked. "I can't just stand here," I breathed, almost more to myself than to him. "We have to keep moving." That a renewed urgency coursed through my veins, and I took a shaky step forward, pushing the darkness back with every ounce of determination I could muster. Marco hesitated, hesitation flickering across his features, but then he nodded, a flicker of resolve igniting in his eyes. We couldn't afford to be paralyzed by Funit now that we trudged deeper into the silhouettes of the meadow, which had morphed into tendrils of shadow reaching toward us, their shapes twisting like an artist's brush against a dim twilight canvas. I thought of the child, the memory of her brilliant sapphire eyes lingered, haunting yet oddly comforting. Her words echoed in my mind, insistent, urging me to press forward. "Where do we go?" Marco asked, his voice low, almost lost in the shroud of dusk. Shadows threatened to envelop us completely, but I felt the globe's warm pulse within me, reminding me I was not alone in this daunting task. "Somewhere we can find the truth," I said decisively, though my voice wavered, revealing a hint of my inner worry. "Somewhere we can understand." With each footfall, the weight of our fears began to coalesce into clarity. The darkness wrapped around us like a thick blanket, but with it came a soft whisper on the wind, carrying the ghost of promise. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. Not long into our quest through the dense gloom, an unexpected light emerged ahead. It flickered like an elusive will-o'-the-wisp, dancing through the mist. We edged closer, each luminous pulse urging us on. As the light revealed its source, my breath caught. In the center of a clearing stood a mirror, its surface rippling with silver filigree glistening like liquid glass. Within its depths flickered images, moments of my past, fragments of laughter, tears, and warmth. My heart swelled with the bittersweet memories, each visage a reminder of life's transient beauty. But alongside this nostalgia lay shadows of regret, swirling just beneath the surface. "Don't look too long," Marco warned, breaking the spell. "That's the past, it can't keep us safe." His words resonated within me, and I knew he was right. We had to focus on the here and now, but the pull of those fleeting reflections pulled at my heart like a stubborn tide. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward. "What are you hiding?" I whispered at the mirror, half expecting it to respond. The reflection shimmered, distorting, and suddenly a voice broke the silence, a voice that carried the weight of every choice I had ever made, every path not taken. "You dare seek the truth?" it asked, echoing in the air like the haunting call of a long-lost friend. "What are you willing to sacrifice?" The question struck me to the core, reminiscent of the girl's words about the sacrifices entwined in our journey. I wanted to recoil, to hide from the implications, but the intensity in Marco's gaze urged me to confront it head-on. "Yes," I said, voice steady yet trembling at the precipice of unknown consequences. "I want to know." The mirror shuddered violently before unleashing a blinding light, a wave of energy that enveloped us. I shielded my eyes, the world spinning violently around me, and as the noise crescendoed into a deafening crescendo, I felt something pull within me, a tether that threatened to snap. When the chaos finally subsided, darkness gave way to harsh fluorescent lights, and a new reality emerged before us. A sterile room, eerily familiar, adorned with clinical charts and medical equipment, stood before me. I recognized it instantly, the hospital where I had once worked, yet I felt an electric thrill of dread charge the air. "Mom?" I whispered, throat tightening as the images solidified. "What are we doing here?" In the corner of the room, a figure lay in a hospital bed, frail and small, the rise and fall of her chest delicate and agonizingly slow. The familiar contours of her face, now shadowed with disease, felt like a knife driving straight into my heart. I couldn't comprehend why this place, this moment was here to confront me. "Mom?" Marco gasped, darting towards the bed, an instinctive urgency to protect awakening in his veins. I felt frozen, the connection to the moment flooding me with rejection, fear, and desperate helplessness that I should have been here. I chewed on my inner turmoil. Why didn't I come back to her sooner? A voice, smooth and resonant, pulled me back from the edge of my thoughts. "You cannot change the past, but understanding it may lead you to freedom. I spun to find the girl with the silver hair standing in the doorway, her expression gentle yet filled with determination. I already felt as though I was spinning out of control. What do you mean? I challenged her, anger rising within me. What good is understanding if it means witnessing this? The girl stepped closer, unwavering in the face of my turmoil. Every step you take forward, every ounce of pain you confront, and every sacrifice you are willing to make is what defines the truth you're seeking. The hospital room began to fade around us, the world dissolving into an amalgamation of color and light as the images of my mother's pain danced in my mind. The warning, potent and chilling, hung in the air. "Mom," I said, emotion thickening my voice. "I need to help you." But how? But before I could make sense of everything, the mirror in my memory flickered once more, casting a web of shimmering light, transforming the hospital into a kaleidoscope of fabric torn between hope and despair. The girl nodded toward the glimmering void, an ominous promise lingering in her eyes. "You will face trials yet unseen," she warned softly. "And in doing so, you'll know what it truly means to sacrifice. Do you still wish to proceed?" A lump lodged itself in my throat. I looked back at Marco and then to my mother. A multitude of lives cascaded before me, filled with all the what-ifs, all the moments I had chased away from fear and guilt. That I do, I said resolutely, ready to confront whatever came next, a fiery tremor of determination igniting my spirit. Just then, a soft, almost ethereal voice echoed through the room, joining in the fractal dance of light, the very fabric of reality shifting around us. "Remember, every journey demands a choice. With each truth comes a price, and from that price shall spring forth a choice that changes everything." As the last words left her lips, the world exploded into a symphony of vibrant, color-spilling echoes of possibility as I felt myself being drawn into the luminous whirlpool of fate. My heart stood poised on the edge, teetering at the arrival of uncharted trials, each moment trembling with the stakes that now weighed heavy on my soul. And as I stepped into the unknown, I couldn't help but wonder, what might I lose in the pursuit of understanding? Would the sacrifices reshape not only my destiny, but the destinies of those I loved as well? The truth shimmered before me, tantalizing and terrifying, and I felt the ground tremble yet again beneath my feet as the first step into my unknown future loomed ominously ahead. As the kaleidoscope of colors enveloped me, I was thrust into an unfolding tapestry of moments, each revealing the hidden threads of my life. I stumbled through memories, the laughter of friends, the warmth of summer nights spent in sweet company, and the stark loneliness of choices made too hastily, too carelessly. Each flicker contained joy intertwined with heartache, a dance that held its breath, waiting for resolution. "Stay close." Marco's voice grounded me as we drifted in this electrified space. I glanced to him. His expression was a mix of concern and resilience, his outstretched hand offering a tether to reality. I grasped it tightly, feeling the warmth, the familiar pulse of friendship, though sometimes muddied with unspoken fears. "Where are we going?" I asked breathlessly, though somewhere deep down, I understood that the answer rested within my own heart. "Where we must, wherever that might be," he responded, his words laced with the honesty that had always been our compass. But the question gnawed at my mind like a restless shadow, escalating as the colors around us spun with urgency. I sensed a choice looming ahead, one that would affect not just the contours of my own fate, but the lives entwined with mine. The vibrant whirlpool slowed, revealing a new scene, a small, dimly lit room that echoed with muffled voices. I stepped forward, curiosity piqued, as flickering lanterns illuminated the corners of a quaint gathering, bringing faces to life, faces from years ago, smiling, vibrant, yet there hung an uncertainty in the air. My chest tightened. I could recognize them. Old friends I had cast aside in the bleakness of my own unresolved guilt. "I've missed you, you know," a woman said, her arms wide as if to envelop the moment, her smile radiant and true. It struck me like daggers, the realization of abandonment. They sat around a table, a map spread before them, plans for adventure cascading in waves of laughter. Yet beneath the joy lay an unspoken burden, me absence, like a ghost haunting the air. A heaviness weighed on me, Would I have found their ties strong enough to keep me tethered? The question danced through my mind, taunting my insecurities. Why did you leave? Whispered a voice that cut through the haze, a gentle hand touching my shoulder. I turned to find the girl with silver hair, her presence steady and grounding amidst the flurry of emotions. You can confront it, you just need to ask. Words caught in my throat. The memories surged, a tide of remorse and longing. But buried underneath was the flame of courage fighting to flicker a light. I had a chance to face those I loved, to confront my own heart and the betrayals I felt toward them. Can we talk? I whispered, yet the words felt hollow, unfinished. I felt a reluctance. Guilt had shadowed my intentions for so long that approaching them felt like stepping into the lion's den. Marco, sensing my turmoil, squeezed my hand tighter and nodded encouragement. You owe it to yourself and to them. This is part of your journey. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into their circle. They looked up, and their smiles faded slightly, replaced by cautious recognition and confusion. Time felt suspended in that instant, each heartbeat resonating with possibility. A single moment birthed a cascade of potential. I started, words battling inside me. I'm sorry. For everything. For leaving, for not being here. The room fell into a hushed silence, eyes narrowing into solemn understanding. The warmth I had once cherished felt heavier, laced with hurt I had inadvertently caused. A weight lifted ever so slightly, and with it went an echoing uncertainty echoing within me. It's all right. One of them finally spoke up, a familiar voice breaking through the tension. You had your reasons, but we were always here, waiting, missing you. Those words hung like a blanket against the biting chill of regret, pulling at the fabric of my heart. The ache of reconnection vibrated through the air, and I longed to reach through time and pull them close, to mend what was forever torn. But just as my heart began to open, a shadow flickered. Within the edges of the glow, a hint of darkness, whispering dreadful truth. I let the sigh escape my lips, anxiety twisting in my gut. Please, I urged, stepping back slightly, don't let this be the end. I need you all to know I want to make it right. Yet even as I said those words, the specter lurked at the fringes of the moment, growing bolder. A crack of thunder rumbled beyond the light, shaking the room, and the faces around me twisted momentarily, morphing into something unrecognizably, a mass of fears, doubts, and pain. I shouted, reaching out, desperate to retain them. My heart pounded as the warmth encasing the moment threatened to dissolve. Suddenly, Marco's grip slackened, his gaze lost beyond the edges of our realm. Something's wrong. We need to get out now, he urged, pulling me toward what felt like safety. But I hesitated, torn. Wait. I can't leave them like this, I cried, tears welling as their faces morphed again, trapped in a tempest that seemed to claw at their very essence. The girl stepped closer, urgency radiating from her. Sacrifices must be made to free those you hold dear. If you stay, they may become lost. I shouted, the desperation clawing at my throat. I can't let that happen. They don't deserve this. But as the thunder growled ominously again and the shadows flattened the radiant light, I knew I stood at the precipice of dire choices. I could not simply wish away the pain. The price for understanding had suddenly escalated, hanging heavy over the dreamscape. Choose. The girl implored, her eyes locking onto mine with a fierce intensity. You must decide now. Their freedom or your guilt. As chaos consumed the edges of our gathering, I drew in a breath, feeling the ground shift beneath me. In that moment, I sensed the ghost of past decisions rush forth, moments that haunted me clashing with the forward momentum of hope. With my heart racing, reality twisted like a knife, and I heard the echo of my mother's frail voice lost in the shadows. Would I trade everything I had fought for, me battles with guilt, me quest for truth, for the sake of those I loved? In that gripping heartbeat, I saw my future flash before me. A life in perpetual regret, or one driven by courage, knowing that not every confrontation would end in triumph. And then, a revelation struck like lightning. The very act of letting go might be the key to true understanding. I felt the weight of the choice spread out before me, a luminous path fraught with dangers unknown. Marco, I shouted, resolute in my decision. We need to take that risk. But before I could act, the darkness surged within me, ricocheting through every fiber of my being. pulling me toward the unknown depths. My heart stuttered. Would it make choices for me, or for them? A new light flickered within the chaos, a shimmer of hope, and as I reached for it, the air crackled with possibilities yet unrealized. Just as I grasped it tight, everything faded, the world swallowed by the void. And in the next breath, I was hurled forward, once more into the embrace of uncertainty, with the shadows of my past and future converging at my back. Fate wouldn't let me go without a fight, and as I flew into the unknown, I realized that the battle for understanding was far from over. The whirlwind collapsed around me, a soft whisper of echoes and fragments. The sensation was one of instability, as if I were suspended weightless in the vast, endless expanse of possibility and despair. When I landed, it was not with a thud, but a gentle embrace of cool earth that carried the weight of change. I opened my eyes to find myself in a place that felt both foreign and achingly familiar. The old oak tree loomed above me, its branches sprawling wide like an embrace long sought after. It remembered me, or perhaps I remembered Ida's sanctuary of solace in my childhood, where imagined worlds tumbled forth under the sway of its leaves. But the air felt heavier here, woven with echoes of laughter and hints of unspoken goodbyes. Something significant lingered, pursued by the sharp edges of nostalgia. Where am I? My voice trembled against the stillness, an effort to reclaim my bearings. You are where you need to be, said a voice warm and soothing, pulling me from my reverie. Turning, I barely recognized the figure standing before me, an old man with silver hair and kind, deep-set eyes that gleamed with a wisdom untold. He seemed to embody the spirit of this place, a guardian of memories. You are at the beginning, yet again, of paths yet untraveled. Everything is so chaotic. I don't know what to do, I confessed, the weight of recent events pouring out of me in a single, unguarded breath. Ah, he replied, kneeling beside me. Chaos brings clarity if you choose to listen. You stand at a crossroad, not just for yourself, but for those tethered to you. They can't find their way without you. A patient presence surrounded him, the shadows gathering reluctantly at the edges. The memory of my friends, their faces swirling in that tumult of darkness, surged within me, an aching reminder of my past choices. Can I save them? I asked, vulnerability etched into my words. Only if you confront the truth of your own heart, he responded cryptically, a knowing smile lingering. What you fear is often what holds the greatest power. The weight of my guilt pressed down on me, a dense fog sullying the clarity I sought. How could I confront the truth when it was intertwined with my shortcomings? It seemed unjust to burden others with a weight constructed from my fears. Sudden laughter erupted nearby, vibrant yet bittersweet, drawing my attention. I turned to see children playing nearby, their joy illuminating the space, a pure reflection of innocence. They danced and spun freely beneath the oak's canopy, their laughter carried on the wind like whispers of hope. Life moves in cycles, the old man continued, gesturing toward the children. They are the echoes of what was and what can be. Can you see? They reveal our potential to renew and to forgive. That I watched their playful abandon, a light that beckoned with possibility when everything else felt lost. Perhaps forgiveness was not a solitary venture. Perhaps it architected a bridge not only to my friends, but also to myself. It took strength to be vulnerable, to seek connection after pain, and maybe, just maybe, it was possible to find peace for both them and me. Will they understand? I asked, my voice shaking, tinged with fear, yet flickering with newfound resolve. The old man nodded sagely. They long for you. The heart understands in ways the mind cannot. Trust that your courage will illuminate their paths. With each of his words, a flicker of determination ignited within me. Urge to reconnect with my friends surged like fire coursing through my veins, infusing me with bravery. I could feel the currents of love and longing pooling in my chest, shaping the dawning light of hope. Perhaps this was the very confrontation I needed to embrace. Vulnerability's song over guilt's shadow. That I have to face them, to show them the truth of my heart. The decree slipped out before I reconsidered. I looked to the splendor around me, vibrant laughter of the children still echoing, roots weaving into the earth below. But how? You will find the way when you embrace your journey, he replied, standing slowly and extending his hand to me. And Invitation to rise. Let go of what binds you and trust the journey ahead. Barely able to express my gratitude, I took his hand. Strong and steady, it was an anchor against the tempest that still raged within. Together, we walked toward the children, approaching the joyous chaos with a newfound sense of purpose. Yet as I bended down to listen to their laughter, another sound emerged, a thunderous echo, reverberating through the air. I felt my stomach twist. It was the darkness again, encroaching, pulling me back toward uncertainty. Something is coming, I gasped, looking back to the old man, fear clawing at my throat. I can feel it. Every great journey is marked by trials that test your resolve, he warned, urgency flashing in his eyes. But remember, where there is darkness, there is also light. It is within you. A sudden burst of wind swirled around us, lifting my hair like the wings of a storm. The children gasped, their vibrant laughter stilled as shadows danced ominously, folding around the edges of the grove, drawing us all into their fold. Move forward, he urged, his voice a guiding beacon through the encroaching dread. Face the truth of yourself, for only then can you confront true darkness. His words sharpened my instincts, urging me to step deeper into the gathering storm, for beyond the tumult lay answers I had yet to uncover. The children, frozen in awe, stared at me with wide, expectant eyes. And so, despite the gathering shadows and uncertainty swirling around us, I took that leap forward, driven by the tiny sparks of hope behind me. As the ground shifted beneath my feet, and the future loomed ahead uncertain, yet thrillingly alive with potential. What awaited me on the other side of this tempest? Instead of retreating into the dimness of my failures, I felt my heart swell with tenacity, ready to confront the unknown as the wind howled fiercely and the walls of doubt began to crumble around me. Little did I realize, even as I surged ahead into the tempest, the weight of an unexpected truth lingered just beyond the horizon, one that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my journey and the hearts I sought to mend. The world around me swirled into a cacophony of sounds: the howling wind, the rustle of leaves, and faint echoes of misplaced laughter, a sound that once felt familiar but now had a bittersweet sting. As I stepped further into the storm, whispers flitted in and out of my consciousness, teasing secrets I couldn't quite grasp. The children's eyes remained fixed on me, a weighty reminder of their trust, their innocence a bright beacon in the clutches of encroaching shadows. Stay with me, please, one child pleaded, reaching out with small fingers, a tether of hope amidst the chaos that I hesitated, the darkness heavy behind me, swirling like an impending storm. But then the old man's words reverberated through me. Only then can you confront true darkness. It was clear. I couldn't let my fear constrain me any longer. I extended my hand to the child, a promise that I wouldn't abandon them, not now, not ever. As I took her tiny hand in mine, a warmth surged between us, an unspoken bond of courage. The moment felt monumental, yet the winds howled louder, as if angry at this interruption of fear. The shadows twisted closer still, ready to swallow every glimmer of light, every whisper of joy. Together, I shouted, rallying the rest of the children. We can face this. We won't let it take our laughter. With renewed resolve, I turned my gaze toward the old oak tree, its branches swaying defiantly against the oppressive gusts. It was an anchor during this tempest. In my mind, I could see the laughter of my friends again, their faces alight with joy, their hands extended toward me in support. The thought pulled me through the turbulence, reminding me why I needed to push forward. But there was a thud, sending shockwaves through the ground. Not far off, clusters of shadows crawled forth, creeping along the earth like serpents slipping from their nests. I turned back, adrenaline pumping, my heart racing in rhythm with my thoughts. Where were my friends? Had they come through this darkness, too? Your fear gives them power, the old man shouted over the howling winds. This is your moment, stand strong. Rallying the children's hands together, I faced the approaching shadows, recalling the warmth shared in better times, the glimmers of hope we created amongst ourselves. We are light, we are laughter, I declared, each word a defiance against the tangible dread. We will face this together. As if summoned by my declaration, flickers of light began to sprout from each child, tiny luminescent sparks emanating where their fingers met, illuminating the grove in soft, vibrant hues. It wasn't much, but it felt monumental, a collective resistance born of shared spirit, as if their innocence revived fragments of strength within me too. Yet as the shadows surged closer, I felt a chilling surge of dread crawl up my spine. Whispers grew louder. The night throbbed with a rhythm I could almost understand. Then, one of the shadows shaped into a figure, towering over the children and Maya, silhouette akin to a memory. "Why do you resist?" It spoke, its voice echoing with grief and darkness laced in an intoxicating melody. "Stay with me. It's easier this way." I recognized that voice. It bore the echo of someone I once loved, someone whose absence haunted me. "No, you cannot take us," I cried, grounding myself against the lyrics of my past that tugged at my heart. The figure pulsed with darkness, drawing nearer. "They will never understand. You cannot save them," it whispered, seducing hope into despair. "Watch me," I shouted defiantly, the warmth from the children buzzing through my fingertips like electric energy. "Watch us find our way through this. You are not the path to my truth." The shadows faltered, wavering, as if they, too, were infused with a flicker of uncertainty. But even as I stood resolute, deep within my chest a gnawing sensation tightened, a whisper against the song of bravery echoing in the air. There was a strangeness to the figure, a stirring recognition that filled me with dread. This was a part of my past, yes, but something more, an echo of the dreams I had buried. Their eyes, their whispers haunted me. This shadow bore my fears, my regrets, and perhaps more alarming, it reflected the doubts I had yet to confront about myself. The flickering light around us solidified for a moment. The figure bristled, pained by illumination. "You will always be too old to travel this path," it hissed, its form flickering like harsh light on fragile wings. "There is nothing left for you." My breath caught, the words a tempest in themselves, turning my conviction inward, sparking insecurity as much as it illuminated courage. Was I too old, too damaged to reclaim my journey? The children's fingers squeezed tighter around mine, a reminder of what we fought for. But just then, a blinding flurry of light burst forth, igniting like fireworks as if answering my turmoil. The warmth surged in waves, and amidst the brightness, connections solidified. My friends' faces filled my mind, their laughter igniting memories like stepping stones toward truth. "Not yet, not ever," I whispered, pushing through the swirling darkness toward this confrontation. And as the light began to crack through the blurred edges of despair, the figure recoiled, its darkness wavering against the radiant glow we had ignited together. But I was drawn back by an unsettling rumble from the earth below, a new phase of darkness creeping in. Just as I believed we had garnered enough light to repel the shadows, a distant scream sliced through the air, a sound all too familiar, filled with desperation and fear. It was my friend, my tether to hope. The realization struck me cold. They couldn't face this alone. Did I have to go to them? I shouted, yanking my hand away from the children for just a moment to turn. But as I stepped back toward the sound, the darkness roared around us, threatening to consume everything we had built. I could feel the weight of the choices pressed against my heart, ready to pull me back into the depths of hopelessness. "Don't let go," one child cried, clutching my leg tightly, while another shouted for me not to abandon them. Torn between the heart-wrenching screams and the innocence at my feet, fear clawed into my throat. And while I felt the burgeoning light within me and around me, it was eclipsed by the shadows lurking just beyond reach, a battle growing fierce, a heart's reckoning unveiling with each pulse. Then, the echoes of my past wove themselves into the present, one that would change everything I thought I knew. What dark truth awaited beneath the folds of memory? Would I find the strength to reconcile, to face the demons not only for myself, but for those I yearned to save? The answer lingered just out of reach, as the shadows danced hungrily, brewing deeper uncertainty as they twisted around me. In my heart, I knew one thing, that somewhere in this storm, the flickers of beautiful light would either illuminate the path or extinguish forever. As the scream echoed in the murky air, each chilling note pierced through my battle-hardened resolve. The child's grip tightened around my leg, a desperate anchor tugging me back from the precipice of my indecision. Please don't leave us. The urgency of those words clung to my heart, a bittersweet reminder that I wasn't just fighting for my past, but for new lives still unwritten. The darkness writhed and twisted, hungry to exploit my moment of hesitation. I could feel the malevolent energy swirling around us, seeking the fissures in my bravery to rush in and snuff out the light we had conjured together. But in that turmoil, the flickering warmth of the children filled me with a renewed sense of purpose. In their faces, I found not just innocence, but the raw embodiment of hope and love, a power greater than the shadows that loomed ahead. That I won't abandon you, I whispered, the promise steadying my wavering heart, infusing strength into my spirit. Slowly, I knelt down to their level, meeting their wide, earnest eyes. Together, we will face this. I need you all as much as you need me. A collective nod washed over them, their trust invigorating. It was in that shared moment, in their small yet powerful faith, that I realized something profound. True strength doesn't merely come from confronting darkness. It comes from vulnerability and unity in the face of it. Now, I said, lifting the children's hands into the air, spreading our light as the shadows roared in, we will shine brighter together. Hold on tight. The children rallied, and with our intertwined fingers, beams of light shot out, pushing back against the serpent-like shadows. For a moment, their advance faltered, shadows flickering as if they were uncertain whether to withdraw or forge on. It was as if our light had ignited a memory deep within them, a taste of hope they might have once known but had long since forgotten. Yet, that momentary victory was soon besieged by an unrelenting pulse of darkness. The shadowy figure surged forward once more, fueled by despair, its anguished whisper clawing at my consciousness. You are nothing without your past. Those smiles of yours are hollow without their sources. You think you can illuminate hearts that have known nothing but grief? My heart trembled under its words, a leaden weight forming in my stomach. It was a cruel truth I had tasted before, one that threatened to break the fragile bond we had forged amidst the gathering chaos. All the moments I had shared with my friends' laughter, tears, confessions echoed within me, both invigorating and paralyzing. Were those memories enough to withstand the rising tides of darkness? Just then, the ground shook once more. The scream reverberated again, this time closer, filled with unmistakable pain. I glanced back, my heart pounding. I couldn't abandon my friend. Time slowed, the chaotic scene dissolving into an urgent clarity. Just hold on, I called to the children, as their light flickered around us, blending through the mayhem as though we were woven in a tapestry of color against a backdrop of unyielding shadows. But I could see the uncertainty creeping into their bright eyes, see the flicker of fear almost contagious in the face of growing chaos. Stay with me, I urged as the tug of friendship called to me from beyond the veil of encroaching despair. Each scream, each cry for help, rekindled the determination I thought I had lost long ago. Look inside yourselves. In our memories lies strength, our light. We can't give up now. And just as I prepared to dart toward the source of the cry, a younger child stepped in front of me, his small frame trembling. What if we can't do it? What if we fail? He stammered, the worry gnawing at him like a creeping shadow. I felt the weight of his question settle in my chest, heavy and raw. Failure isn't the end. It's part of the path, I responded, kneeling once again, desperate to convey unwavering faith. But surrendering to fear? That's the true defeat. Together, we create our own light every time we try. Just as I met the wide eyes of the boy, a wave of shadows swept through, forcing a shriek from the child at my side. I felt a rush of panic as I turned, the ground shifting beneath us, threatening to topple everything we clung to. My heart raced as I realized that the scream hadn't just been a cry for help, it had been a call to face the depth of my darkness. Let's go, I urged, and my fingers intertwined with those of the children once more. We squeezed each other's hands tightly as I faced the encroaching darkness again, moving with purpose and conviction. Together, we advanced, fueled by the flickers of brilliance within our souls. But as we drew closer to the horrifying truth of that scream echoing through the tumult, the shadows began to take more shape, coalescing into forms that stirred memories of desolation. Suddenly, the grieving figure stepped forward, its features sharpening into a visage I recognized all too well, the face of my long-lost friend, twisted by sorrow, drenched in darkness. "Why did you leave me?" It called, its voice a haunting lament. "You have nothing left to offer. You will never escape this pain." That I staggered back, realizing that the shadows I faced weren't merely external fears, but manifestations of my unresolved feelings. And in that moment of recognition, despair threatened to cloud my newfound strength. Would I falter against the very embodiment of my memories and the turmoil I had been running from? But as the shadows closed in, something stirred within me, an ember of warmth, illuminated by the presence around me, the children's elemental courage, and their belief in the power of our unity. "You are wrong," I shouted, my voice ringing with conviction. "I am not alone anymore. I carry their hopes, their laughter, and they carry mine. I will not let you break me." A fresh wave of light surged, igniting the grove with brilliance, but the shadows rippled with fury, ready to consume all hope. And just as the figure lunged for me, its anguished cry reverberating with history and heartbreak, the ground beneath quaked once again. An awful truth echoed in my heart. What if I could not save my friend? What if I was not strong enough? The thought snaked around me like a vice, tightening with each desperate beat of my heart. The storm raged on, and I could only wonder what further secrets of my past awaited me. "Not yet," I whispered, a haunting ache grappling me. The realization hit with clarity. I had to confront the shadows within, not just for myself, but for all the bright souls still fighting by my side. But I could not shake the sinking feeling that something deeper lay beneath the surface, waiting to unravel everything. As I prepared to charge forth into the heart of the darkness surrounding me, a heavy silence enveloped us, presaging something even more terrifying to come. What other revelations lingered in those shadows, ready to pull the ground from under my feet? And could my light withstand the truth that waited just beyond my reach? As the echoes of my own screams faded and the figure loomed closer, I felt the weight of all my choices pressing down on me. The shadows writhed like serpents, each one a tether to my regrets, each movement a reminder of every moment I had failed to act, every time I had turned away from confrontation. My heart raced, the children's hands still clasped tightly in mine, anchoring me against the tempest of despair. "Remember your own stories," I urged my little companions. "What has brought us joy? What made us laugh? This darkness cannot extinguish the light within us." My voice, shaken yet resolute, seemed to resonate, and I felt the warmth of their faith shimmering around us. But even as I pushed forward, doubt clawed at the edges of my resolve. What if those very stories were shadows of tragedy, echoes of joy irretrievably lost? What if I could not recapture that light? My own heart felt like a fortress built on quicksand, ready to collapse under the heavy tide of sorrow creeping nearer. I stepped deeper into the maelstrom. Every ounce of me screamed to run from the familiar face of my past, twisted in anguish. It wasn't just a specter. It was a mirror reflecting every chance I had squandered. "Please," I shouted, fighting against the rising tide of grief. "I'm trying to find my way back to you. Help me." And then, perhaps to my horror, the shadows began to recede, unveiling moments that cut through my heart like a dagger of clarity. Flickers of laughter, the warmth of shared moments, all twinkling like fragile lanterns. Faces of those I cherished emerged, reassuring amidst the chaos, whispering tales of love and friendship amidst the darkness. "We are here," they seemed to say. "You are not alone." But just as the embers of hope flared with intensity, the form before me twisted into a tempest of rage. It charged closer, backed by an army of the past, memories of loneliness and loss that still haunted the corridors of my heart. "You think they will save you?" it mocked, voice dripping with disdain. "Look at the youthful reflections of a life you fractured." A chill snaked through me, icy and unyielding. I fought to suppress the memories that threatened to engulf me, but they surged forth, rendering me vulnerable. Was I merely a sum of my failures, unable to empower those bright souls around me? Did I even deserve their trust? The boy's hand tightened in mine, his small fingers trembling as he felt my faltering spirit. "You said we create our own light," he whispered, his voice barely rising above the howling wind. "Don't let the darkness win." His unwavering belief broke through my tumultuous thoughts, reigniting a tiny flicker of courage. Yet the shadows lunged, and I could feel the gaping maw of despair ready to swallow us whole. "Stand firm," I cried, desperate to harness every ounce of our collective strength. I turned to the children, each face resolute, echoing a commitment that surpassed words alone. "Together, we can drive this darkness back." As if in response, we pressed forward, our fingers intertwined. The warmth of our connection illuminated the corners of my mind like a beacon, momentarily dispelling the heavy abyss. With each step, memories of joy surged, providing a fleeting sanctuary from despair. But then, in the midst of our rally, a piercing sound shattered the air, one we hadn't anticipated. A familiar voice sobbed from the depths of darkness, a sound soaked with despair and yearning. "Help me, please," the voice called, tremulous and achingly familiar, a cry I would recognize in any lifetime. That I froze, my breath catching in my throat as I realized who it belonged to. It was not just the layered grief of my past. It was the echo of a relationship I had abandoned long ago, one marked by love and pain, by words left unspoken and bitterness coated beneath the surface. The shadows twisted and formed the image of my closest friend, their once bright eyes now dulled by loss. "Why didn't you save me?" the figure wailed, hands outstretched as if longing to grasp what had been lost. "You left me, and now you stand among the children as though you've forgotten." The impact of those accusations reverberated through my soul, debilitating my heart. Each word hammered against my defenses, threatening to unravel everything I had tried to build in the wake of the past. "Please," I cried, "I've never forgotten you. I need you to understand I thought I could protect you by walking away." But the figure merely shook its head, solemnity scowled amidst the encroaching darkness. "You cannot heal what you refuse to face," it whispered, the sorrow so palpable that it clawed at my insides. "You left me behind, and now that sorrow has taken root within you. You cannot escape this until you confront it, until you heal." The ground trembled beneath us, a reminder that the shadows relished the conflict within me. While I stood with the children, their small hands tightening around mine, I realized that this confrontation was no longer just about them or my past. It was about facing the full weight of my truth. As the terror of that realization settled closer, the darkness roared back, amplified by my own turmoil. The children began to tremble, fear creeping back into their eyes as they sensed the impending storm. "Stay with me," I shouted again, feeling the overwhelming urge to protect them. Yet the specter of my friend shifted and swayed like a ghostly dancer, beckoning me toward the unknown. The darkness was waiting for me to slip into the grief it promised to wrap around me like a fog. I stood on the precipice of that choice. The ground beneath suddenly vibrated with a violent force, threatening to swallow us whole. I was caught between two worlds, the soft call of the familiar face from my past, and the glimmer of hope that shone from the children, steadfast by my side. What would happen next if I turned from the figure I had left behind? What darkness would that unleash? Could the truth not only save me but save the beautiful spirits clinging to me? The emotional cliffhanger lingered in the air, heavy with unsaid words, as I took a step closer. Just as I prepared to embrace both the pain and love waiting in shadows, something shifted in the air around us, a ripple of light morphing to reveal something unfathomable. I felt the world tilt, the shadows swirling faster, and just before my heart could settle into the truth that awaited, the ground beneath me crumbled, unfurling into the unknown. What was about to be unveiled could destroy everything we had fought for. Or, just perhaps, it could heal us all in ways we never once imagined. The darkness enveloped me, a suffocating blanket that pushed down upon my chest as I stood teetering on the precipice of decision. Part of me felt the pull of my past me friend, lost and twisted in pain, but the warmth of the children's hands, firm and resistant, anchored me in the present. I squeezed their fingers tighter, gathering my courage against the storm brewing within and around me. "Listen to me," I urged, my heart racing in tandem with the raging shadows threatening to devour us whole. "I'm trying to help you. I never wanted to leave you." But as I shouted into the chaos, I knew my words bordered on futility. "They don't need your apologies, Ellen," the shadow of my friend echoed. now a series of jumbled memories blending together. You're running from the truth. Each word cut through me like a knife, the realization landing hard. Had I indeed been running, fearful of facing the consequences of my choices? But the flicker of hope nestled within those sweet, small hands gave me pause. I looked down at the children, their eyes glistening with the deep innocence born in the light they had pushed to life with our collective resolve. Could I truly face my own darkness while carrying their everlasting trust? With a breath, I stepped forward, a decision igniting like spark in pitch darkness. You're right. I've hidden for too long, been afraid for too long. It's time I stop avoiding the pain I've caused, time to embrace the truth of my heart. And it involves you. I felt the power of the children's connection surrounding me, fueling my declaration as I turned back to the ghostly figure. The shadows shifted, and in their murky forms, I saw my memories, moments of love and laughter intermingled with regret, my friends standing beside me through triumphs and tribulations. The visual echoes poured from their true essence, an undeniable bond that still pulsed even amidst confrontation. Tears brimmed in my eyes. I left because I was afraid of losing you, losing myself. I thought running away would protect you from my failures, but in doing so, I only hurt you more. The weight of my sorrow spilled forth, raw and vulnerable. I need you to forgive me. But more importantly, I must forgive myself. I held my breath, hoping that the truth would resonate deep enough to transform the shadows into light. The figure began to shift, the ghastly outline distorted with an anguished sigh. Forgiveness takes courage, Ellen, and it's time to choose. This time, its voice soared above the dark storm, a note of revelation that felt like a tether reaching through time. That I choose to confront this, I replied, wonder spreading warmth through my chest. I choose to carry the light in my heart, to be brave for you and for these children, even if it shatters me. As the air crackled in the silence that followed, the ghost's form finally began to soften, drawing closely entwined with my own fears and Sarosa faceless embrace born anew. Then it happened. All at once, my heart thrummed alive. The shadows began to recede, drawn back by the resilience blooming in my heart, a garden planted in the warmth of understanding. The children's little hands grasped me even tighter, pouring forth little drops of courage that flowed into the heart of the storm raging around us. Before my astonished eyes, the figure transformed, the grief melting away to reveal the radiant spirit of my friend, smiling, eyes sparkling with compassion. You've always been strong enough, Ellen. Now it's time to rise and let love prevail. Your heart knows the way. And suddenly, we were wrapped in a cascade of light that spilled from the children, igniting everything it touched in warmth and clarity. As I stood amidst this growing brilliance, I could feel a release of weight pressing down on my soul. My friend's forgiving smile imbued me with an indescribable courage. Together, we faced the shadows with resolve, emboldened by the connection we'd forged. What I feared would break me has built me stronger. I breathed, heart swelling with newfound strength. My gaze shifted to the children. Never had their faces shone so brightly, pure innocence interwoven with the knowledge that we had triumphed together. I shuddered as the realization washed over me. Life was a cycle. It demanded both the breaking and the remaking of ourselves. The storm dissipated, shadows giving way to a radiant horizon. In this luminous world, there were no fractures. The past hugged tight to my soul, a reminder of where I once stood, yet it transformed instead into the core of something beautiful, a myriad of possibilities unfurling like petals in time. And then finally, as I breathed deeply, the voice echoed softly in my mind. You are every choice you've made, every smile you've shared. It's never too late, Ellen. Live boldly, love fiercely, and let every moment guide you to the horizon you were always meant to reach. With those echoes lingering in my heart, I turned towards the children, and in that moment, something electric surged through me. Perhaps the world had thought I was too old to dream, but they didn't know the truth. Dreams lived eternally in souls that dared to embrace both joy and sorrow. My journey had only just begun. As warmth flooded in, we stepped forward, hand in hand, embracing everything this world had to offer. We were boundless, we were limitless, and as I cast one last look at the remnants of the storm, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was exactly where I needed to be. And from that day forward, I would always keep the light of courage and love within arm's reach, letting it guide me home no matter where my path may lead. In the end, we find peace not in chasing ambitions alone, but in weaving the tender connections with those who illuminate our way. Therein lies the essence of living.